So, welcome everybody back to Future of Beauty Unfiltered. I am your host, Hannah Cook, Head of Growth and Innovation. And today, episode 15, I'm so excited to have Kelly Newton from Nixi Body. Welcome, Kelly.
Hi Hannah, how are you doing?
I'm so good. I'm so excited to have you here. I know you're nervous, but it's going to be amazing and we're going to have a great time.
Yeah.
So, Nixie Body guys, I cannot wait to talk to you about this. I've known Kelly for over a year now, and it's amazing to see how this has completely gone from strength to strength for you. So, I'm going to do a shameless plug now of just how amazing we think you are. So this week we welcome the founder of Nixi Body, formerly known as BP3 Underwear, Kelly Newton. Now, Kelly is an expert on stress and urge incontinence and is courageously opening up the taboo conversation around incontinence. Now, since joining force with her business partner Coni, the pair are offering a range of leak-proof absorbent knickers for incontinence and periods, which I definitely want to talk about later. You are also a badass mum of 6 who designed your first pair of leak-proof knickers after struggling with menopause and little bladder leaks when playing hockey. So you're active as well. You're showing me up now with my one. And obviously Connie's also mad about menstrual cycles and has a passion for plastic-free periods. So she joined Kelly to help more women have stylish, secure and sustainable options for period care. Now together, they are the dream team behind Nixi Body, a brand on a mission to keep you moving through menstruation, motherhood and menopause. That's 2 badass women as far as I'm concerned. So welcome. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm good, thank you. I'm fine. I've just, I've had a really funny week, so it's been kind of up and down, and it's just life. Life is just so full on and busy, but I'm coping. I'm having lots of clarity at the moment, and just taking it day by day, really. Just trying to cope with what I'm trying to
Do you
manage.
know what? Oh, good for you. And thank you so much for your time again. Like, I think what you're trying to do is really amazing. And I remember when I met you a year ago, I remember then being like, that woman is on a mission. Um, which leads me to my first kind of question. So, what was actually your inspiration? So, originally it was BP3.
Yeah.
What was your inspiration to create a business around leak-proof underwear?
Do you know what? There was never any inspiration to start a business. I've been a foster carer for the past 18 years, and that's why I have 6 children. I haven't given birth to 6 children. We've got 2 boys of our own who are 20 and 22, and we've got 4 teenage foster daughters. So we've got 1 16-year-old and 3 17-year-olds. So you can imagine how horrendous my house is with hormones at the moment. But what happened was I'd suffered for years with really heavy periods. So started my periods at 15, always very heavy. I think one of my core memories is sitting waiting to go into class on a plastic chair with the thickest sanitary pad in ever and I'd leaked through the pad, through my clothing onto the plastic chair, and the absolute humiliation of that. So always had really heavy periods, and it wasn't until after I had the children that my periods got a lot worse. I was in a lot of pain. Sex was very painful. Everything was really uncomfortable down there. Lots of pelvic pain, and at the top of my legs. So ended up going to see a GP. Ended up basically after 7 years being diagnosed with endometriosis. So had that lasered away. It was decided that they were going to put me, I was going to have the Marina coil, and I bled every day for 9 months on the Marina coil. I had a tilted womb, so I had to go into hospital to have the coil inserted. It wasn't just done in the doctor, so it was a big palaver. And after 9 months, it was just a case of, I can't do this anymore. I need this removed. So they ended up saying, right, we're just going to give you a hysterectomy, which I was more than happy with. You know, we've got a busy household. I wasn't fussed about having that removed. I was told by the surgeon that he would leave my ovaries in so I wouldn't go into early menopause, but subsequently then started to suffer with the effects of the menopause within a year. So my symptoms really were rage, depression, palpitations, panic attack, anxiety. I wasn't sleeping, and they weren't any of the symptoms that I knew about the menopause. So because I was told I wouldn't go into early menopause, and because they weren't the symptoms that I was aware of, I just thought I was going mental. So for me, being active and playing sports has always played a massive part in my life. So, you know, I played hockey. I played netball for about 30 years, and then I ended up playing hockey that I played at school in a really lovely team of women. But every time I stretched for the ball, I would leak a little bit. And it was like, well, this isn't right. This isn't normal. If I scored a goal, you know, you jump up, it was game over. I've got to go home. You know, I've basically, this is going to be really TMI. I'm so sorry. Like, I am an oversharer.
No, I'm totally here for it. I'll be sharing. Don't worry about it.
So at this stage, my girls had just started their periods. I hadn't used disposable products for a long time. I'd actually used a Moon cup up until I'd had my hysterectomy. I feel like I was a pioneer of the menstrual cup. So I didn't want to go back to using disposable products. I know that they're not good for me, and they're not good for my body. I was really aware of how much waste, you know, I was conscious about how much waste we as a family were producing, with 4 teenage girls having their periods and then me using them every day for leaks, light leaks. You know, there's 200,000 tons of waste is produced from disposable sanitary products each year. So, you know, I was really, and honestly, I would be emptying the bins from the bathrooms and the bags of sanitary waste. I was like, no, we cannot carry on doing this. This is awful. So I looked online to see if I could find any washables, because I knew there must be something out there. It wasn't, you know, what I've come up with isn't a completely unique idea. But
like you've got reusable nappies and things, haven't you? Right.
Exactly, yeah. So, but the only knickers I could find were awful. They were big and bulky. I ordered a pair. They were like, it was almost like plastic, in like a big plastic like pad thing that you sat on. It felt uncomfortable. It looked awful, and I was just like, I am so not ready for those knickers. I still want to look nice. I still want to be attractive. That is not going to do it for me nor my husband. So I thought, right, okay, I'm just going to design a pair of knickers that I want to wear. So that is literally where my idea came from. I just wanted a nice pair of knickers that I could wear that would protect me from leaks, that also wouldn't be visible, and that were very discreet. And yeah, that's where it's all come from.
That's amazing. I mean, you are obviously, and I all over your socials and everything you ever talk about, you're really passionate about breaking the taboos around men, just periods in general. Saying the word period, we had a podcast the other day and we must have said period about 30 times. And what was funny was, even though as an agency of people, we're very open and we have those conversations, I was still watching the men flinch. And I'm like,
yeah,
what's wrong? Like, and so you do feel like you have to apologize a lot of the time, when it's something that everybody knows it's just a natural way of life.
Yeah.
You know, and incontinence as well that comes from that. I think incontinence is one of those really strange things where no one wants to admit they have it. I think most it's not. I mean, like, so obviously I'm fairly young, still quite active, but I have a son. My friends and I, if we laugh too hard, we're crossing our legs and going, stop, it's not going to end well, because it just becomes this way of life when you put your body through a lot of stages. But there are also people that suffer with it who haven't had kids.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know what? It's not normal. This is the thing. It's not normal to leak. And as a company, we need to be responsible, and you know, we know that our knickers aren't the answer to leakage. You can't just wear them and just expect that everything's going to be okay. We try to look at it, you know, you need a holistic approach to looking after your pelvic floor. But actually, going back to what you just said about talking about periods, and I say the word vagina so many more times than I've ever said it in my life. And actually, and this is the problem with me, with all the problems that I've had, I still don't really understand what was happening with my body. I still don't know the proper name for some of my body parts. And that's the beauty of working with Coni, my co-founder. She knows all of this stuff. She talks about vaginas and vulvas and vaginal discharge and your microbiome. And I've learned so much from Coni. And at the beginning of when we first started to work together, I felt very uncomfortable talking about the word vagina and vulva. I would still call it my front bottom or my mini. And she's like, no, you have to get the word right. And you have to call it a period. You can't call it the time of the month. And I used to think, why? I don't understand why that's so important. I totally get it now, because if we can't call it what it is, there's still shame linked to that. And there shouldn't be any shame linked to that, you know? These are all things that are happening to women's bodies. that happen to, I mean, leaks happen, it's 1 in 3 women. And if you're talking about perimenopausal women, that rises to 1 in 2 women. So, you know, we need to be able to put the correct language. We need to be able to speak the correct language. And I didn't get that at the beginning. I don't know if it's my age, it's just the way that we were brought up. We never talked about those things. But, you know, the girls that are coming through now, they're very comfortable talking about that. And that's made me feel, actually, yeah, we need to say it more. And in our house, we've always talked about periods, to be fair. I mean, I hopefully my daughter won't be listening to this, but one of my daughters did start her period at 9, and I wasn't at home at the time. And she, because we're very open and we talk about these things, she was very comfortable talking to my husband. She said to my husband, you know, I think I've started my period, and he was able to sort her out with what she needed at the time, which was great. Because when I started my period, 35 years ago, I was stealing my mum's sanitary towels out of her cupboard for about 3 months before she realised what was happening and confronted me, because I didn't want to talk about it. I was so embarrassed. So I kind of hope, I know it's, you know, it's just, and I know my sister did the same thing. I don't know if we were just a family of Wallies, I'm not sure, but we just never spoke about those things. And so, you know, I feel like going forward, just using the right language around these things, it helps to take the stigma away and the embarrassment.
Yeah, totally. And I think you're absolutely, I mean, you mentioned your core memory earlier. Every time I go to the Guildford Spectrum, my eye twitches and I go, I had my first period here. And my friends go, what a weird thing to tell me when we're in the queue. But every time, because I remember standing I was with my dad, about to go into the pool in a bright yellow costume, quite young. And I remember thinking, something doesn't feel right. I think I need the loo. And I went to the loo, and lo and behold, Mother Nature appeared.
Yeah.
And I remember like clinging to the rock and him being like, what are you doing, you idiot? Come in. And I'm like, I can't, because I'm thinking I'm going to turn the pool crimson red. Like, no idea what's going on.
Oh.
And it was a really hard conversation actually for me to have with my dad. Luckily, I could then have that conversation with my mum, but there are so many people that aren't able to have that.
Yeah.
But also, I think it has a big impact. You know, if you think about it, we've done obviously lots of discussions around menopause as an agency, and a lot of research on just the mentality of it. There's so much support at the beginning of your reproductive life. If you think about schools, I remember the kids taking the sticky bits off the old sanitary towels and trying to stick them to the ceiling at school. And I remember that really, I was not a tampon thrower, just to be really clear. Don't waste it. But, you know, I remember all of those discussions. And then the same with getting pregnant, you have a system to support you there. But actually, once you get past that, I'm now ready to reproduce part of life, you're kind of left on your own.
Yeah, that was a really interesting one of your other podcasts. I was listening when I was running, and that really did hit a nerve with me, because I thought it's so true. We are there to reproduce, and then we're written off. Once we've reproduced, we're written off. And it really made me think, God, that is absolutely true. There's absolutely no support for us. And from the day you have your baby, really, I don't know if things have changed now, but when I had my eldest, like 23 years ago, you were given an A4 sheet and told, you know, do some pelvic floor exercises, blah, 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 blah. We'll see you in 6 weeks for a quick checkup. And that was it. But then in countries, I think it's France, I read recently, they get 10 pelvic floor specialist appointments. So you go along to see a pelvic health physio, and that's just done naturally. But we don't do anything like that. We give birth to a baby, you know, we're tired, we're exhausted, we've maybe had stitches, whatever down there, and we are just absolutely left to it. And the only way really you can get help is by paying for it, and it's not cheap. Although I do have to say the NHS are running a pilot scheme at the moment, working with midwives, physios, and some other specialists around women's pelvic floor health. So hopefully they can roll that out across the UK, and women will get better support. But, you know, after that, like, you know, menopause, we get nothing. And these stages of life, I always say to my friends, like, men literally are born and they die, whereas women, we're born, we have periods, our hormones kick in, we have children, and then we lose our hormones, and all of these different stages that we have, these peaks and troughs of our life. Men are just flatline. They just do not appreciate how lucky they are. We have it really tough.
No, they don't even have to pluck their eyebrows. It's crazy.
No,
I get mine tattooed, so I can't comment either. No, I get it. I think as well from a hormone point of view, I mean, the men do have to obviously live with us sometimes when we're going through these processes. So let's not beat them up too much. But
I'm
totally,
I've got yeah, my husband is great. He is aggravating, obviously, but when I started the menopause, which was a really difficult time because the girls were just coming into their periods, as so their estrogen's rising, as mine's just depleting, and it was a boosh. It was so difficult for everybody.
Yeah.
I was horrible. I was a nasty person. So my husband was the referee for the whole family, and he's been amazing. He has been really good. Yeah, I can't run.
It is hard as well, I think, because you go from, and I think particularly as women, you do end up majority of the time running a household, right? So you are spinning a million and one plates. So that awareness of what's going on in your own body, in your own mind, is really challenging. And I think when you kind of go into those menopausal stages, like you were saying, everyone automatically assumes with menopause it's a hot flush.
Yeah.
But as you'd said, not at all. And they can come a lot sooner. What is amazing is, as a country, we are more open with those kind of conversations, and so it is making things a lot easier. But it's really great to see brands like you guys popping up and going, no, I've seen a space in the market, because yes, I'm going through this next stage in life, but I don't want to be made to feel any less a sexy version of myself than when I was before. And I think that's half of the problem actually that we have for these later aged consumers, is you're just assuming it's all downhill and that's it. Whereas actually a lot of the time, like you said before we started, you're at a stage in your life where you can give two craps. And it's just enjoying yourself. Like I said, dressed up as a Spice Girl at the weekend, got way too drunk, but I had the best time and I was living my best life, and I apologized for nothing. And I think that's part of it. When what was it that made you move more towards period underwear? So you started with incontinence. Was it Coni? Like, kind of, you brought obviously this change, so it's not just thinking about it from an incontinence point of view, but it's now period, it's now change around sustainability. Obviously there's the menopause discussion as well, and also talking about how cycles can affect younger women. So firstly, what was it that made you move just away from incontinence?
So
and secondly, what's next?
Yeah, so basically the Knickers, the technology it's exactly the same for incontinence and for periods. So I started to sell the Knickers. I was working part-time in a clinic at the time when I started the business, and worked with a fabulous lady who was so supportive, but she had endometriosis. So she said, I want to try the Knickers. I'm like, yeah, go for it, see how they help. And she absolutely loved them. So we knew that we know that the technology is exactly the same. We haven't designed anything different. It's exactly the same. So we know that, if you can wear them for periods, they do work for leaks. They're obviously just for light leaks, make it really clear. And when we say light leaks, we're talking our lightest pair holds 10 mil. The next pair up holds 15 mil, which is about 3 teaspoons, or they say 2 to 3 tampons. And then the most absorbent pair we have is that holds 25 mil, which is about 4 to 5 tampons worth. So they're not for really heavy leaks and periods. When you go through the menopause, I didn't, obviously, because I was almost, my period stopped because my uterus was removed. You have unpredictable periods. So with Coni coming on board, Coni is like an expert in reproductive health, and she was wearing for periods. People just started to buy them for periods, even though we were kind of like this incontinence underwear company. People started to buy them for periods as well. So we were kind of like, well, we're cutting our nose off to spite our face, just to saying that they're for leaks. And yeah, that's really where it came from. That you can wear them for anything. We say discharge, sweat, they protect you down there. They're breathable, absorbent, but just really, really discreet. I suppose our messaging started to change more when Coni came onto the business as a co-founder, because of her background in female health, and just the different people that at different stages in their life that were buying them. And we were like, you know, I feel like we wasn't quite sure who our target audience was. I know when you start a business, and I am so new to building a business, I honestly don't know how I've managed to get as far as I have. It's an absolute joke. People say, who's your target?
I do, because you're great.
You're very sweet, Hannah. But people were saying to us, who's your target audience? And I knew that I was my target audience, my friends at hockey. So we were all aged, obviously from about 35 to 55. We were all active, all suffering with little leaks, maybe having periods. Some were having unpredictable periods, just starting the menopause. And that was our target audience. But then people started to buy them for their 9-year-old daughters who were having their periods. And then I was having like 96-year-old women ringing me up, ordering their knickers. There was one really such a lovely lady who rang. She was so embarrassed. She was leaking. She was going away with her family, didn't want to take the disposable pads because she didn't know how to get rid of them when she was away. So she bought the knickers, so because they just look like normal knickers, she could wear them, wash them, and then nobody would know. And bless her, she got back from holiday and rang me. I'm sometimes on the phone for about an hour with some of my customers. They're almost like friends. It's lovely. So I lost track of who my target audience was because everybody was buying them. So what we've really kind of, I feel like we've gone back to the sporty aspect. So I started the business because of my love of sports, keeping active. And we've kind of almost we've pivoted around back to kind of active women. We focus on the 35 to 55-year-old active women who may be having periods, who may be having unpredictable periods, who are maybe slightly leaking, and kind of starting the menopause. So we've kind of gone back to that. But it's honestly, every day I learn something new. Every day there's something thrown at me that I need to think about, that I need to kind of build into the company. I keep saying it, but I just don't know how we're even here.
I think it's amazing as well. It's one of the things that Catherine and I are head of brand strategy. So like I'd said, big, ex-Colgate Palmolive, amazing brand brain. She was like, I'm in awe of Kelly because she's done it with 6 kids. But the thing that she found from a brand point of view perspective really interesting was understanding how you got to the point where you made that decision to rebrand, right? So founding a business is an achievement in its own right. It's not easy. But to then undertake a rebrand, a complete rebrand, we're talking name change, everything, it must have taken obviously a great deal of courage. Now, you obviously started the business as BP3 Underwear and rebranded to Nixi Body in 2019. You've kind of already started alluding to this, that maybe one of the reasons you were doing this is because the customers were kind of not actively telling you, but by looking at who was buying this product, you were realizing it was so much more than what it does. Firstly, where did Nixi Body come from?
Yeah.
And secondly, were there any kind of key learnings or bits of advice that you might have for other entrepreneurs who might be thinking about kind of changing their brand and what they should think about?
Okay, so let's start with the name BP3 Underwear, which you obviously know because I've told you, because I have to explain to everybody. So I was playing hockey, obviously, and talking about our leaks with the team, and my friend Lydia turned around and said, oh, I just want to be P3. I don't want to pee myself anymore. And we'd been trying to come up with a name for ages, and I just thought BP3. So it's the letter B, letter P, and then the number 3. And I thought, yeah, that's great. Everybody else was like, it's rubbish. But I said, no, I can't think of anything else. That's what I'm going for. So it was obviously a rubbish name, and I had to explain it to everybody when they asked what did it mean. So what happened was, I knew it was a rubbish name. We went with it. We were BP3 for about 2 years, I think, 2 and a bit years. And last year, I was lucky enough to win a grant of 10K. So through I Fund Women and I think Vista Create. So just before that, I've been really lucky. The people that I've been introduced to have just are so kind. Like my sister met this really great girl in the gym, started chatting to her. Then my sister tells everyone about my Knickers. And then she turned around and said, oh, my husband, Rich, works in consultancy and he works with some health companies. He'll have a chat with your sister. And he's been amazing. He's almost like an unofficial Ned to me. So I'd been speaking to him again, and he said to me, look, I've got this great branding lady. I can give you some of her time for free. This is, again, how lucky I am. People are very, very generous with their time with me. And so I'd had a chat with her just before I'd won this 10 grand. And she said to me, I really think you need to rebrand. I love what you're doing, but the name isn't great. And we can really work on building this into, you know, a huge brand. So I said, oh, okay, I need to think about it. Then I won the 10 grand. And I'm like, that night, I literally said to everyone, I'm rebranding. I'm going to rebrand. I think if I'd have known now how hard it would be, I think I probably would have said, oh no, I'm never going to do it. It was the most stress. It was so stressful. It wasn't stressful in coming together and working with Nicola. And then Nicola's got this amazing creative designer that we worked with. We loved all of her work. It was amazing. So, and again, I could afford her. So I knew I could do it most of it within this 10 grand. So she came up with 3 different color schemes, and we all went through them. Obviously we all liked a different one each, so that was a bit of a nightmare, but at the end of the day I was like, do you know what, this is my company, it's my vision. And I don't usually do this. I am a real people pleaser, so usually I'd go, no, you choose, but I was like, no, this is the one that I like, and these are the reasons that I like it, and this is why I want to go with it. I can't tell you how much I've grown, honestly, in the last 3 or 4 years. I wake up some mornings and go, who even am I? I don't even recognize myself.
Tell me in a minute, I want to hear.
So yeah, we decided on the colors, and then she had a couple of different names, and it was the first name. I just thought, I love it. It's quite similar to some of the other companies out there, but it was the meaning behind it, because obviously BP3 Underwear meant something to me, because it described actually what I wanted to be. But Nixi Body it comes from the female ancient goddesses who helped women with their gynecological problems and issues, and they were often depicted squatting. So for me, that just, you know, that just means everything that we are. We want to help women with these issues. We want to empower them and educate them. And also Nixie sounds a bit like Knickers as well, so I was like, yeah, that's done it for me. And we just loved the name. So that's where that came from. It's been a really, really long road sorting everything out. You know, Coni is brilliant and supportive, and Coni does what she needs to do absolutely brilliantly. I have to do all the other stuff, and I'm still learning doing all of that. So it's very difficult, and some days I feel like I can't cope with it, and you know, I deal with it, whatever. The website still isn't where we want it to be. So I've worked with all women. Every single person that I've worked with has been a woman. Although saying that, obviously I've had some great support from some fantastic men. I had one man do the website and it was a disaster. So that was a bit of a nightmare for me, and it has kind of put me off working in kind of with men in that way. Do you know what I mean? It's I feel like women run businesses really need to support other women run businesses, and I feel like maybe I should have looked a bit harder for somebody to help me with the website, but we're nearly there, we're getting there, but it's been a really long road.
Do you I mean, we obviously have a mixture of men and women, and one of the things that I've found fascinating around the menopause conversation is how much some of the men have really got behind it once they've had that time to really get their heads around it. Do you think that working with women with this particular product, there's actually more of an emotional drive behind it, because most women once you reach a certain age, have experienced it in one way or another?
Absolutely agree. Listen, I mean, I do work with other men. I've got other men that help me, advise me, and have been absolutely brilliant with me. I just had a bad experience with this particular guy.
Yeah.
I don't think he really got what we wanted to do. He never took the time to really understand what we were doing. And I think that's what caused the problem. So it's not men per se. Don't get me wrong. I will work with men. I do work with men, but this thing was so huge, and I needed it to be right.
Yeah.
Didn't get what we were doing. Yeah, women have a lived experience of all of this. Women, I find, typically want to help. Some men don't get what we're doing. I've had
Yeah.
the only really bad comments I've had were from two men. They were like, why are you doing this? It's embarrassing. There's no market for this. It's like, you how can you say that? You don't live, you've not lived our experience. So yeah, women definitely come from a more kind of personal and emotional way, I suppose, when we're working together.
I think as well, if you think about the actual biological cycles, women go through massive highs and lows in the space of 1 month.
In a
It's you
day.
can't in the space of in the space of 24 hours even. So it's a totally different experience, and it is hard, I think, if you haven't lived it, to genuinely empathize with it sometimes. So you said something earlier, and I really want to. You said you are a completely different person since setting up your own business and going through this journey.
Yeah.
How do you fit? How are you different?
Well, firstly, I don't have the terrible menopausal symptoms anymore because I'm on HRT, vaginal estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. So I am completely leveled out, and I'm in a place where I'm really happy. But more than that, when I started my business, I obviously had no business sense, probably don't still have much now, to be honest with you, but I had absolutely no business sense whatsoever, no confidence in what I was doing. I was scared to make decisions. I was scared to speak up. I was scared to say no. I didn't know anybody else in the business world. I wasn't in those circles at all. If I could tell you, right, so last week I woke up, I can't say who the text is from, but it was the most exciting text I've had in a long time from somebody who's in the public eye, who's got my number, who wants to speak to me. So I'm literally on the floor in the bedroom crying. I'm crying all the time. I'm literally crying all the time because of sheer, like, who am I? But I'm saying to my husband, and that particular morning I was going off to breakfast with Trini Woodall because I did the elevator pitch on her show. So there was about 50 founders all invited along to this inaugural breakfast. So I've got that to get ready to go to, and then I've got this amazing text that's come through, and I'm just sitting there crying, saying to my husband, who even am I? How did this happen to me? I have grown so much. And Coni, bless her, Coni always says to me, she says, you're such a businesswoman now. She says, when I first met you, she said, you obviously had this amazing idea, but didn't know how to take it to the next level. I didn't know what I was doing, and how much she's seen me grow and be confident and being able to make those difficult decisions. Networking, I mean, I love meeting people, don't get me wrong, I love chatting, I love talking to new people, but I get very, very anxious walking into a room on my own, and I know I need to go to these places on my own, because if I go with somebody else, I won't talk to anybody else all night. So it's really out of my comfort zone to go in. In fact, I remember coming to the Paul agency, is it the Future of Beauty?
Future of Beauty. Yeah.
So I remember I was walking along. I remember coming up to the hotel where it was, having to talk to myself to walk in, because I could have quite easily just walked past and then come all the way home again, because I was so scared to come. And it was such a lovely event. But I remember sitting down in the corner. I got a cup of tea and I sat in the corner just looking around, thinking, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? I don't know anybody. And I spotted this other woman on her own, and I just bounded up to her and said, are you on your own? And she said, yeah. I said, well, do you want to stand with me? Like, I felt like a toddler, an absolute ridiculous toddler. And she was so lovely. She was you're a weirdo, but okay, you're scary, but yeah, you can talk to me. And she was really lovely, and I sat with her. But that still, now, that makes me very anxious. I get very, very anxious about that. And I've never walked into a pub on my own. If I meet a friend, I'll make sure I'm late, so I'm not the first to arrive, because I cannot be sitting in a pub or a restaurant on my own. It's really anxiety inducing for me. So this whole this whole business with networking and stuff, which is such an important part of what we have to do, is it's very difficult. But I have grown so much.
I mean, do you know what though? I think credit where credit's due. Sometimes being just yourself is the best best thing in the world. I don't think, no matter how confident you come across, networking is never something anyone enjoys. Like even I can chat to a toothbrush. I think I do talk to my toothbrush sometimes, but I hate it. You know, my boss is always like, "Oh, you're better at it than me," and I'm like, "I'm really not." I just take a deep breath and see someone and go, "Hi," like,
Yeah.
and like you go, "You're on your own. I'm on my own, and it's rubbish to be on our own. Shall we have a chin wag?" Like, and it really is, and I think that's what's really nice. I think about this industry, particularly with what you're trying to do, is such a personal story, and most women, some men actually, can relate.
No, you're right. You're right.
One of
Sorry, do you know what actually as well is I find when I go to these networking events is I am generally one of the oldest people there. So I'm going in as a really inexperienced business owner, founder, a lot older than everybody else, completely self-funded. And I go in feeling really awkward. I feel like an imposter. I feel like I shouldn't be in that room because there are girls there who are like half my age who have maybe raised £3 million, and they're walking the walk, they're talking the talk, and I feel like such an imposter. And I find that very, very difficult. And and that's me. I need to get over that because I need to be proud of what I've done. I've managed to set up a company using just my own money. I distribute, we do events, we have an amazing following of customers, we have a great return rate of customers. I know that I need to go in and feel more confident about what I'm doing. But and I can learn from these girls. These girls aren't, they're not gatekeepers. They're not stopping me from knowing this stuff. A lot of the young ladies that I meet, and girls and women that I meet, are really open to sharing and helping. But that's my insecurities. That's me telling myself that I shouldn't be in that room. It is hard.
I think as well, imposter syndrome is one of the biggest things that people talk about. I see this word on LinkedIn all the time. I think especially when you go through a certain stage in life, whether that's, I think with menopause, you see a lot of imposter syndrome. I mean, one of the stats that Tina shared when from Theramex, when she was doing her podcast with us, for anyone that hasn't listened to it, was that the rate of senior level women that have to stop their careers
Yeah.
when they're at their peak
Yeah.
because they just can't cope with the stresses and pressures of the job combined with being perimenopausal is actually really high. And because there isn't a lot of support there. And I think the same is when you have kids and when you go through all these cycles in life, and especially if you are feeling uncomfortable physically, right? Because that's the thing I'm really interested in about this underwear. So I mentioned before we started, I really want to talk about it. We've mentioned it I think we had a chat about it actually with someone else on a podcast, and we were talking about period knickers, and I went, I don't know how I feel about these. The principle for me breaks my brain a little bit. Now, I agree with you on some months, you'll have a heavier period, you'll have a lighter period, and you'll go through more or less or whatever. And there are other months where it's uncontrollable and you're just constantly getting caught off guard, right? I mean, the amount of times I've gone somewhere and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm running around, I'm like, has anyone got anything? You're just going to any girl you can find, right? So to be in that situation isn't nice anyway. It is anxiety inducing. But then the bit that I struggle with is, so pads. I hate wearing pads because I remember another core memory. I remember sitting in the car. I think I'd had my third ever period, and it was getting to the point where it was getting a bit heavier because the first couple are a bit, baby like. And but the mammoth one arrived, the mama one arrived. And I had a pad on, and I was sitting in the car, and I'm tugging at my trousers, and I'm getting really irritated. And my mum was like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, I feel like I'm in a nappy. I'm so uncomfortable. And it put me off for years. It would be, as soon as anyone came at me with one of these big floppy pads, I'd be like, absolutely not. And I think sometimes the concept, like you were saying, the first pair of period knickers and incontinence knickers you found was like this big saddle of plastic, right? So what is it that you kind of looked at in your technology and the approach to try and make it look nice, but also feel nice? Because that feel is really an important part of it, right?
Yeah, definitely. So I, at the time, actually even now, live in my gym leggings. I've always got my gym leggings on. So I wanted to not be able to see the VPL. It's not important to everybody, but it was important to me because, like you say, with the big pad, if you've got your tight gym leggings on, that's going to be visible. It looks like a nappy. So first of all, the design needed to be really sleek. So we have a seamless scalloped edging. So it literally cannot be seen underneath the tightest of gym leggings. And, you know, you can see the reviews. Everyone's like, this is like magic. How does this work? Secondly, I designed the gusset. So on normal knickers, on your average menstrual period knickers, whatever, the gusset goes across the bottom or up to the top. So I designed the gusset so it sits underneath the crack of the bottom. So it is literally the shape of a small liner. Also, what I did was, because I'm active and I run around, the last thing I want to be doing is picking my knickers out of my bottom and you know, knickers moving about and rubbing and chafing. So I designed that, so the middle of the knicker is elasticated, so it kind of sits in the crack of your bum and it pulls the knickers around like Velcro, so they don't move. So unlike a pad that would move and rub and chafe when you're moving about, this does not move at all. The pad is really, really thin. Basically, the top layer of the pad is made from cotton. It's moisture wicking cotton, so it draws the moisture, the blood, the urine away from the skin. And the second layer, and this is depending on absorbency, so our light leaks only is another cotton, absorbent cotton layer. Then underneath that is a waterproof layer, so it doesn't go through to the outer skin. For our more absorbent knickers, there's a microfiber in there. So, you know, when you're cleaning in the kitchen and you've got your cloth and it soaks everything up, that's literally what this does. It's very, very natural. It just pulls it through into that layer, and again you've got the waterproof layer. For our really absorbent knickers, the gusset does go up to the top, so we call our sporty range the most discreet range. So they're the ones with the scalloped edging that can't be seen underneath tight gym leggings or any tight clothing, and they really are just for light leaks and light periods. We say for heavier periods, you need like our poly and our Evie knickers, where the gusset does go all the way up to the top and they don't have the scalloped edging, so they aren't as discreet as the other knickers. Also, the knickers are made in nylon. So nylon is 1/7 of the thickness of any other material. So it's really light and very, very comfortable. It's like a second skin. We made them in nylon because of that fact, because of how light they are, how durable it is. But also we have our scalloped edges laser cut. So if we were to use cotton for that, then they would fray and they wouldn't last very long. Our knickers last over 2 years. So, you know, you're getting the money's worth from that. With the gusset being cotton, that's obviously, you need to have a cotton gusset for your vulva, for your most intimate part. And that should help, you know, with if you've got any soreness or any infections or anything, you need to have cotton there. Or even better, don't wear any knickers at all, which, you know, shouldn't be saying when I'm selling knickers. But you know what, our knickers, they're not for everybody. We know this, and again, we want to give women choices. It's not just about we want to sell you a pair of our knickers. You know, you might feel better wearing pads and tampons, that's great, but try using the organic tampons and pads, and don't flush them down the toilet. You can get these great little fab little bags where you can dispose of them. If you haven't got a bin, you can get rid of them. There's the menstrual cup. I mean, the menstrual cup is immense, it's awesome. But if you've got really heavy periods, then our knickers are great to wear with a menstrual cup for that extra security. Are they messy? I don't have periods, and this is a question that we covered last week, me and Coni. I'm like, you know, is it messy when you have a period? And she said, no, this is the thing. She said it just absorbs the blood. If you're clotting, if you're particularly clotty, then you would need to wipe the clot away when you go to the bathroom. But not in an awful lot, that's a sign of something might be wrong and you need to go and see the doctor. So, you know, I feel like as a company, we're really responsible. We're also really honest. We know that they're not for anybody and they're not for everybody. And we need to give choices to people. Women deserve to have choices. They shouldn't be told this is the right thing for you and this is the only thing you should be using. You know, that's not true. If pads and tampons are easier for your lifestyle, then use them, but just try to use organic pads. And we do a lot of work with a company called My Frida, like disposable pads. People don't necessarily want Knickers, they want sorry, reusable pads. You know, there's another company called Wear 'em Out. She does amazing pads. There's all these people that they're all in the same space as us, but we work with and collaborate because we just want to help women with their journey through all kinds of, you know, through their menstrual cycles and their incontinence, whatever. We just all want to be there to support women. And that's another reason why I just love what I'm doing, because I'm connecting with all these awesome female founders who are really making a difference in this space.
And I think as well, that's one of the reasons why you're going from strength to strength, right? Because what you're doing around the brand, the rebrand as well. I think the fact that you listened to your customers and you actually went, who's buying this product? You know, you have a really clear purpose, you have where it started, you're thinking about your audience, but also there's the sustainable side as well. You know, not every product should be for everyone, otherwise it doesn't really,
No, that's
you
it.
know,
We
it
deserve
makes
choice.
it less special.
Exactly. We deserve choices. We and if it means trying out all of these different things to find out what's best for us, then that's what we need to do. But you know, a woman's life is so difficult. We've got so much going on. But there's you know, it's almost like a band-aid solution. It's not fixing the problem, but it's getting you through your day, your week, whatever, to build on fixing what's wrong. And it's so, I find it really difficult to explain. It's just we're giving women choices to get them through the day, to make their life a little bit easier. I can't explain it. You'll have to cut that bit out.
No, it's staying in. Yeah, I'm sold. I definitely need to try a pair because I think they sound amazing. I think that idea of it takes some of the anxiety actually away from life. Actually, the anxiety that comes with being a woman of getting caught off guard
Yeah.
because you are so busy. And it's not just mums. You don't have, it's not just mums. It's women are typically, as I said, not always, obviously. This isn't a male bashing session because we love you guys. Well, sometimes I think the directors feel like it is sometimes. I'm like, oh. But majority of the time, women are the caregivers as well. So you don't think about yourself first. And I think the fact that, you know, by prioritizing yourself, your physical health, your mental health, it takes just a little bit of that angst away. And to know, do you know what, if I get caught off guard, I don't have to worry about my jeans getting ruined and standing there. Like, you know, we've all had horror stories where we sit there and something's happened and I've gone, I need to go home. Why do you need to go home? I just need to go home. Like, why died? Sat there looking, going, I need to leave. And most of the time you have to tell a man, which is brilliant.
I love it. I love it. It's you're so true. It's just so true what you're saying. We do put ourselves last on the list. We're running a home. We are working, maybe caring for elderly parents as well. You know, we've got so much on all the time. Our needs do come last. They do absolutely come last. So, you know, just having that as a security makes life, it's just one less thing for you to worry about. And I mean, I wear them every day. I have to wear them every day. I don't leak every day, but say I did have to run for the tram, you know, if I let go and I run, I'm going to leak. I know I am. So I've got my knickers on as security for that. Absolutely got, you know, I need that security. It's hard, honestly.
It is hard, but do you know what? How amazing that you identified a problem and you've come up with a solution. And it sounds like it actually helps a lot of different people. I could talk to you for hours. Every time I speak to you, I'm always like, I want to ask her so many more things.
I'm just
I have one last question.
Person, honestly, I don't know why you want to talk to me. I'm so uninteresting.
Oh, don't be silly. Okay, I have one last question for you. We have a lot of people that kind of work in advertising, marketing, entrepreneurs that are listening to this. If you could give them one piece of advice, what would it be?
Marketing and
From your own experiences.
oh my God. So other business owners, do you mean?
Yeah, sure. Whatever you want. What's that piece from the journey you've been on? What's that piece of advice you'd give? You
Okay.
could tell yourself when you started 3, 4 years ago, whenever it was.
Do you know what? It would definitely be, I would say, be braver, be brave and believe in yourself, because, you know, a good idea is just, it's a good idea until you need to put your good ideas into motion. I had this idea. I was so frightened to do it. And as soon as I did it, it was the best thing that's ever happened to me. So just by being brave has completely changed my life. It has completely changed my life. And actually, I know that I've made a difference to other people's lives as well. And that there's no better feeling than knowing that I've helped women, and I'm still helping women. So definitely be brave, believe in yourself. God, this is such crap advice. But I just,
you say that, but it's nice to be reminded.
Yeah, I just feel I feel really proud of myself. Actually, I do feel proud of myself that I've managed to come on this journey, that I'm pushing myself completely out of my comfort zone. I need to speak up more. I'm braver. You know, great things happen for me when I put myself out there and speak to people. And do you know what? And people can be so kind. If you don't ask somebody, you're never going to know what the answer is. So if you just ask somebody to help you, generally, I'd say 99% of the time, people will offer to help you. They're happy to help you. So don't be afraid to ask for help. And also, I've got lots of things coming in now. Don't rush into making decisions. Sleep on it, because I'm the world's worst for going, oh, that's a great idea, let's go with that. And then, you know, £1,000 later, I've just thrown £1,000 down the drain. Don't rush into things. Take your time and plan. There you go. That's all my advice. Rubbish advice, but
no, it's great advice. Great advice. Thank you so much, Kelly, for your time today. Guys, I really hope you enjoyed listening to what is actually a really lovely story and a really great product that I'm 100% going to be trying when I'm at the gym next. So thank you so much, everyone listening. If you have any questions for me or Kelly, please drop us an email at podcast@thepullagency, and we're really excited to see you next time. Take care.